Hello my friends, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Erin, and today I'm doing my August wrap-up video. August was a very bad reading month for me. Oh my goodness, I had the worst luck with books. I didn't feel like reading. I didn't want to read. Everything I owned looked dreadful. I did end up reading 11 books and 9 volumes of manga, which actually is quite a bit. I completely understand that. As I'm telling you that I had the worst reading month ever, I did end up reading quite a few books. I was also participating in Jordaline's Spooky Smart Bitch Readathon, so I was trying to complete the prompts for that. I actually did read books for all of the prompts except for one I did not get done. So I actually think I did pretty good. I tried to get it all done within the last like 2 weeks of August, so that was kind of chaotic. Let's just get into this wrap up, and yeah, let's talk about some books. So like always, I'm going to work backwards up, starting with my least favorite books to my favorite books, because I just think it's more enjoyable and I can end on a happier note, even though this month was so bad. Working our way up the ranking, we are headed towards my 2-star rated books. I only have one book in this category, and this is Unlovely by Risa Faye. This was on my TBR for the Spooky Smart Bitchathon prompt book that you haven't seen talked about on social media. This is about the main character, Cora. She's 18 and she just left home and kind of got away from her abusive parents. She deals with a lot of body issues. She suffers from body dysmorphia, and so she kind of just runs away and wants a fresh, clean start away from her abusive family. So she leaves and she comes across this little town, and she finds this cottage that she rents out, and while there she meets this man who is inside a mirror. She ends up kind of liking him and he likes her, and they start this relationship, and her mental state deteriorates. This is a very weird book to read. The writing is very chaotic, and I assume that is on purpose because of Cora's mental state. It's supposed to kind of match that, but it makes it very hard to read. It's very confusing. It's all over the place. I just didn't like the writing. I didn't get the writing. The story is also just very weird in my opinion. I thought it had a lot of potential because I do like the idea of what this is. I was just reading page after page like, what is this? What am I reading? What is this? So I kind of just went through it, just trying to get through it as best as I could, and I was just kind of reading to read and get it over with. It wasn't really enjoyable for me. Like I said, the writing is just so strange in my opinion. It's all over the place. It's very chaotic, and again, I think that was done on purpose, but it didn't work for me because it makes it way too hard to read and understand and kind of comprehend what's going on. Maybe that's the whole point, but it just doesn't work for me. And for that reason, I gave it 2 stars. I did not enjoy this book. I thought it was very strange and weird, and I didn't like it. Next up is my 2.5 star rated books. I have one book in this category, and that is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. I was accepted for this book on NetGalley, and I actually was accepted a while ago. This was before I even tried attempting to read The Only Good Indians, so I was very excited for this when I applied, because I hadn't read much Stephen Graham Jones, I wanted to give Stephen Graham Jones another shot. I wanted to give it a try. This was gonna be my last try, right? I tried The Night of the Mannequins, I tried The Only Good Indians, and so this was gonna be my third attempt, and hopefully I was gonna find something I really, really enjoyed from him. As you can see, since this is in my 2.5 star rated category, I did not care for this book. This book has a lot to do with slashers and the final girl trope, which are two things that I absolutely love in the horror genre. I love slashers. I love the final girl trope. It's something that I absolutely just gravitate towards in the horror genre. So I actually really did think this was going to be the one for me. I thought this was going to be the book that Stephen Graham Jones gets me with. Okay, this is it. Our main character, Jade, she's obsessed with slashers. She talks about slashers constantly. It's like all she thinks about. She's also very irritating as a main character. I don't like her. I didn't connect to her. The story is also way too long in my opinion. Nothing really happens in this book until about 20% till the end. So like I was 78% into the book when I was like, oh, things are actually happening. Cool. It's taken forever. So this book is just kind of boring in my opinion. Nothing happens. It's just a lot of the same repetitive things happening over and over again. I didn't care for that. I was bored and I just didn't care. Reading his work is just kind of a chore for me. I have come to the conclusion Stephen Graham Jones is not for me. He's not an author that I connect with. He's not an author I get. His writing's not aimed at me and I can't mesh with it. He is an author that seems to resonate with so many people and so many people love him in the horror genre, and I think that is freaking amazing. I'm so happy that so many people love him and that he is so successful. I think that's amazing. I'm going to leave his writing for the people that love him so much and just let them enjoy it. So I think I'm just kind of done with Stephen Graham Jones, unfortunately. I think it's just for the better because I don't want to keep giving his stuff bad reviews and not liking it, and I don't want to have to force myself to read things I don't like. So I'm just gonna call it a day with Stephen Graham Jones and leave him for the people that absolutely just adore his writing and it connects with them and resonates with them and works for them, and I'm just gonna leave it to them to tell me what I'm missing out on and just experience it through people's eyes who see all the positive things through it, because I just can't seem to. So I'm just gonna this is it for me and Stephen Graham Jones. Our relationship is gonna just not exist anymore, unfortunately. So yeah. My Heart is a Chainsaw was just not, it wasn't for me. Next up is the 3-star category. I have 2 books in this category. The first one is called The Dark by Emma Houghton. I don't know if that's how you pronounce their last name. So I was also approved for an ARC of this through NetGalley, and I was very, very excited for this. Horror and thrillers, I've just been really into the isolation thing. I really like that and I'm feeling it for some particular reason. So I thought this one sounded really good. And this is about our main character, Kate. She is a doctor. She actually gets the position of the doctor for this research station in Antarctica. And the previous doctor for this station mysteriously died. And so she's kind of taking this job because some things happened in her past and she's kind of trying to move on, and she has, you know, some like dark secrets in her past, that kind of thing. And so she takes on this new job. She goes to Antarctica, she's at the research station, and she realizes after kind of experiencing things for a bit that the death of the previous doctor was probably not an accident. So then she goes on this mission to try to figure out what happened and you know, the typical kind of thriller setup. So like I said, I was very excited for this one because of the Antarctica setting. I just thought like being in a research station in Antarctica was gonna be so like exciting. And the main character, Kate, I don't like her. And I kind of feel like the author's purpose was to make her unlikable. And if so, I do think the author succeeded in making her very unlikable, which I guess is a great job. I just didn't like Kate. I found her very obnoxious. I just didn't get her, and I could not connect to her at all. So I didn't really care what she was doing half the time, or when she would talk about her past and her dark secrets that were looming over her. I was just kind of like, okay, I don't care. I'm sorry, but like I don't care. Just like get to the point. Of course, her past I also thought wasn't anything new or revolutionary. This is kind of a thing I see in thrillers a lot. The main character having a dark past and then it's revealed, and it's always the same kind of thing. So I wasn't too surprised. I figured it out pretty quickly what her past and her secrets were, because it's just really obvious in my opinion, which takes a lot of the fun out of the thriller. So I didn't love that. I think in general this book is actually really predictable as well. The murderer I guessed fairly early on as well. I'm hoping that I just guessed it early on because I read so many thrillers that it was kind of easy for me to pinpoint who it was, because I do think the author did a pretty decent job at trying to confuse the reader to who it could be, but I just kind of knew it was too much of a distraction. Like so many things happening, I was like, okay, this is too obvious that I'm being distracted and not looking at certain people. So I did predict a lot of the book, but I don't know if that's because I read a lot of thrillers or if the plot is just super predictable. The setting is really the main beautiful part of this book. It was very atmospheric, very creepy, and I really loved this setting. I wish it had been more than average for me because the setting was so nice, but the overall whole of the thriller was just so average. This is a very typical thriller in my opinion. So if you love books like that, I think you'll probably really like this one. I just wanted something a little bit more. The last book in my 3-star category is The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. This was the group read for the readathon, and I was very excited for this book. It was one of my most anticipated releases of 2021, and I feel a little disappointed by it. I think it was an okay book. I think it was a pretty average YA. I wanted more from it. I wanted something a little bit more. I don't know, there was stuff missing. Like, I liked the idea, but it just was so meh. There was nothing that crazy stand out about it. It was good, like I liked it, but I don't love it. I do feel like compared to other books, this one comes off very cheesy and very much YA. Like this kind of screams YA in your face. Everything kind of went by way too fast as well. I think this book is only, let's see, it's 244 pages. Was actually a pretty decent length. It's a length I enjoy in books. It was just too fast. Like things were just going, and I feel like there was no tension, there was no build-up, because it was all just kind of happening. It was all snowballing really fast, and it kind of made the book lackluster. I liked the representation in the book. I think it did a good job, but it was lacking. It was just so average, which is so disappointing because this cover is just absolutely stunning. Look at it. Oh, I'm obsessed. I don't know. I was just I was disappointed by this one. Okay, next up is my 3.5 star rated category. I have 2 books in here. And the first one is The Family Plot by Megan Collins. I was also approved for an ARC of this one through NetGalley, so I was really trying to get NetGalley books read this month because my list was kind of getting out of hand. I have mixed feelings about this book. It's very weird in my opinion. This book is about Dahlia Lighthouse and her family is a little bit eccentric. They're a little bit strange. All of her siblings and her are named after murder victims. Dahlia's named after the Black Dahlia, so that in itself kind of just was weird to me. So when this part was kind of introduced to the story, which is right at the beginning, I was a little weirded out. I am a true crime fan. So I did know who they were talking about and the murder victims that they were talking about, but it just felt a little odd. They lived a very secluded life. They were taught at home and they lived in their mansion on an island away from everyone else in the town. So they lived a very, very secluded life. And their curriculum was actually focused on true crime. They were taught a lot about true crime. They know so much about true crime, and that's what their mom taught them. That was like what their school was, which again I just think is very weird. I just think it's a very weird plot. At the age of 16, Dahlia's twin brother Andy went missing. He ran away, he disappeared, they never saw him again. And 10 years later, the rest of the family is gathered back at the mansion for their father's death. He had just passed away, and family secrets start coming to light. I love reading true crime. I love watching true crime. I'm a big true crime person, so to have it incorporated into a mystery thriller I thought was pretty exciting, and I was interested. The writing is very weird. It took me a while to get the hang of. I honestly thought I was gonna DNF it for a while because I just couldn't get into it. It was so weird. And Dahlia as a main character is so strange. Her point of view is just really weird, and reading from her point of view is really weird, and I felt very disconnected from her as a main character, and I don't know, it was just very flat from her. So I just didn't really love her as a main character. I thought she was kind of weird, and I mean, to be honest, I think the whole family is weird, so I don't know. I just felt like the characters were very flat, and I did feel intrigued by the story. I did feel compelled to keep reading, even though I didn't love the writing style and I didn't love Dahlia. I did want to figure things out, but I will say I do think the story's pretty predictable. I kind of had things figured out early on. I felt like I knew where the story was heading just based off the first half of the book. So I was a little like, I mean, I'm gonna make sure I'm right. So I kept reading just to see what happened. The middle is so draggy. It is so repetitive and boring, and I was just like, okay, speed it up. Let's get to it. We're just doing the same thing over and over again. I just need to get to the end. The climax isn't as climactic as I was hoping for it to be. Like I said, I did have things figured out. I was pretty sure I knew where the story was going. The ending, I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's a weird ending, but also I guess kind of makes sense. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I don't know how I feel about the ending. Overall, this book, I do like the idea of incorporating true crime. I don't know if I love the way it was fully incorporated. It's a very unique and interesting plot, I will say that. I think it's very different, and I think that's really cool. So I do think it's very innovative and fresh, and I did enjoy certain parts of it, but overall I think it just lacked a bit for me to really, really, really like it. Next up is another NetGalley book. This is The Perfect Family by Robin Harding. I was accepted for an arc of this book, and again, it's just, there were good things about it and then just meh things about it. This story is about the Adlers, and they're the perfect family. They're just ideal. They got everything going for them, you know, picture perfect, except they aren't, obviously. I feel like that's kind of how these stories go. The picture perfect family, and then they're not, obviously. Come on, that's just so predictable. But everyone in the family has a secret, okay? Every single person in this family is hiding a secret from each other. They're all trying to keep secrets, okay? Soon the family starts getting pranked, and the pranks start off very harmless at first and just kind of a nuisance. They're not very like fun. They have to like clean up things and that kind of thing. And then it escalates, and then it becomes kind of terrifying and threatening, and they feel like they're in danger. And they start wondering if it has to do with their secrets, but which secret and what is everyone hiding? And that's what the book's about. This is a very quick read. It held my attention. It kept me wanting to read and find out what was going to happen, and I felt like it was pretty twisty, and I never knew what was going to happen and that kind of thing. So I did enjoy that. However, these characters are so unlikable, and I am 100% sure that that is the way the author intended them to be. They're supposed to be unlikable and annoying, but it was hard for me to care about what was happening to these people when I didn't like them. I'm supposed to care that you might die or something, but like, I don't like you. You're so flat and stereotypical and unlikable, and I just was over it, and I just didn't like the characters. I didn't like a single person in the book, and that makes it so hard for me to enjoy a book when I just don't like a single person in it. I think the build-up was done well until the end. When the pieces started coming together and things were starting to be revealed and everything started to make the full picture, I just got so annoyed. I was not happy with how it was going. I was not excited about it. I was not into it, and I just didn't. I kind of got bored. I was waiting for the book to hit this pivotal climactic moment, and it just didn't. It fell flat. Even when the pieces are starting to come together, it's just so flat at this point that I'm like, well, how am I supposed to care now? Like, I just went through all this stuff with you guys, and now I don't care. It just flattened out. It didn't have an explosive conclusion, and I was over it at the end. I was like, okay, this isn't gonna give me what I want now. So overall, I did enjoy the book. I think it's kind of addictive, and it's a page turner, and it keeps you entertained, but the ending just doesn't match what the rest of the book is, and so the ending was just kind of a big disappointment for me, and I was just not thrilled by the ending. Next up is the 4-star category. We are finally getting to some better books that I actually did enjoy. Up first in the 4-star category is Piercing by Ryu Murakami. Now, I read In the Miso Soup, oh my gosh, when did I read it? A year ago? No, a year ago, maybe. I don't actually remember, but I knew after reading In the Miso Soup that I would love to read more by Ryu Murakami. I decided to start with this one, and I ended up using this book for the translated horror prompt. Okay, this is a very strange book, and I don't know why I'm surprised, because In the Miso Soup was also very strange to me. That was a very weird book. I enjoyed it, but it's very strange, and this one feels very similar. So this book follows Kawashima Masayuki and his wife and their baby girl. And they have a really good life, everything's going good, except for at night, he looks at his baby in her crib and holds an ice pick and just kind of tells himself that he's not going to stab his baby with an ice pick, which is a very weird plot. He decides to confront his demons and just face them head on. This is not what I expected this book to be at all. And I think that's just his writing style, because In the Miso Soup felt the exact same way. I literally didn't expect the book to go in that direction. I didn't expect this book to go in this direction. It was very strange. I liked it, but it was weird and it messed with my head, and it was just so strange. I didn't know how to feel most of the time or what was going to happen next. I just didn't know how to feel after I finished this book. The ending is, you know, I have no words. I really don't know how to explain how I feel about this book, because I don't think I actually know how I feel about this book. It's good, but weird. Wow, so helpful. That is such an articulate review of this book, Erin. Good job. So great. I literally don't know how to talk about this book. I just remember being so weirded out that this was what it was. I just didn't expect it, and I thought it was well done. It's beautifully written. It's very well done. It's just a weird book, okay? I don't know. I liked it, but it's weird. And the ending is kind of insane, but also it kind of made me laugh in like an ironic way. Like, I didn't know what else to do, but I just laughed, I guess. So that is my very articulate review of Piercing. Yeah, that's how I felt. I literally don't know how to explain this book. Great, that was so good, Erin. Great job. Next up is Bathhouse by P.J. Vernon. This is a thriller. I actually used this book to fulfill the LGBTQ plus author. This book is crazy. I was very happy that I picked this one up because it was very fast-paced, which is what I needed being in the slump that I was in, and I think it kept my attention very well. It was very shocking and just insane, the things that were happening. So insane, and I just was left so flabbergasted at like every scene, and I just kept needing to keep going to figure out what was going to happen at the end of this book. And the ending is, I didn't expect the ending. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't expect the ending, which is kind of crazy. I did suspect something, but it didn't end up being what I thought it was going to be, and then it went in a different direction, and I was totally shocked. I will say one thing I really hated about this book is the characters. I didn't like anyone in this book, which is usually a downside for me, okay? That's usually a big disadvantage for me. However, I think it worked really well with this book because I think everyone needed to be unlikable. I don't think it would have worked if they hadn't been. But this book is about Oliver. He is a recovering addict, and he's in this really good relationship with his partner who is a doctor, and his life is on the right track, and you know, he's doing really, really well until he goes to this gay bathhouse and something really bad happens, and then his life just gets turned upside down. And I really didn't think I was gonna like this one as much as I did, but I did. I do think it dragged just like a tiny bit towards the end. I was waiting for it to become a little bit more intense, and it took a little bit longer than I would have liked. It's not a 5-star read for me because, like I said, I know that the characters were unlikable for a reason, and I think it worked, but it's still frustrating as heck to read unlikable characters, and it does make me lack that connection with them. And I wish it had maybe been condensed or something. There was just a brief period in the middle-ish end where I wish it had kind of sped up. I don't know, it was just a little draggy there. But overall, I really did like this. It was a lot of fun. It was crazy. I didn't expect it at all, and I really enjoyed it. I thought I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it. I liked it, and it helped me with this horrible slump that I was in. The next book and last book in my 4-star category is Hide and Seeker by Daka Perman. I really liked this book. It's a middle grade horror, and it was just so cute. This book is about Justin, who is the main character, and his best friend Z has been missing for over a year. And when he comes back from his disappearance, he's a little bit different. There's a little bit something off with him. At his welcome home party, his friends decide to play hide and seek, and the game goes horribly wrong, and then bad things start happening to the group of friends that played hide and seek. And this story is definitely character driven in my opinion. It's more about the characters, their friendship, their struggles, their lives, that kind of thing, which I do think hinders the book a little bit because it makes the book not as spooky or as scary or as horror as I would have liked it to be. But I do love the characters so much. I love their friendships. It was so sweet and so cute, and it was so fun, and I did really enjoy it. I get that this is a middle grade, so it can't be like super scary, but I just wish it had been a little bit amped up, like a little bit more. It just felt a little too toned down, and the scary factor was a second place to the characters and their friendship and stuff like that. But I did really like the book, and I thought it was a lot of fun, and it was a fun read. It was cute. I liked it. I just wish it had a little bit more spook factor. Next up is my 4.5 star category, and I only have one book in this section, and that is When the Reckoning Comes by Latanya McQueen. And I was also approved for this book through NetGalley, and I was very excited to read this book. It is one of my most anticipated releases that just came out because it came out very recently, and so I was so excited. I really enjoyed this story. It was almost perfect. I'll get to that in a minute, but it was so good. In this story, we follow Mira, who basically escaped her hometown after something really tragic occurred, and now years later, she's coming back to her hometown for her childhood friend's wedding. However, the wedding is being held at this plantation that was renovated, but it's supposed to be haunted by the slaves who were murdered there. This is the same plantation where Mira and Jesse, who was her crush, experienced something really horrific. This is a beautiful supernatural horror story. It is beautifully written, so beautiful. The writing is amazing, and the horror is really kind of subdued and almost just an undertone to the whole story. So it's just very understated, but in a really nice way. It complements the writing and the overall plot very well. It doesn't overwhelm the plot, and I don't feel like the supernatural elements and the main plot were like at a war with each other or anything like that. I love character-driven horror stories as long as I don't feel like it's too much. I feel like some authors can take it a little too far and I get bored, but I do love a character-driven story, and I feel like this one is such a good balance. The social commentary woven throughout the story is just beautiful, and I don't feel like it's just too in your face or too loud or overshadowing anything. It's really nicely balanced. It really makes the story more hard-hitting and gut-wrenching, so I really liked that aspect a lot. The ending is probably my only criticism. I felt like the ending was a little bit abrupt. I was kind of surprised at how fast everything just kind of wrapped up and it ended. I just wanted a little bit more. I wanted a little bit more climactic of an ending, I guess. It just wasn't as climactic, but I guess it kind of makes sense. The whole story is very understated and very soft, so maybe that's why, but I just kind of wanted a more, I don't know, big ending, I guess. So I didn't love the ending, but it's not a bad ending. It's a pretty good ending, actually. I just wish it had been a little punchier, just a little bit more in my face, I guess. And lastly, we are at my 5-star reads of the month. So my first read of the month and my probably favorite read of the month was The Flowers of Evil by Shuzo Oshimi. I have talked so freaking much about this series. I literally just don't even, I'm not even going to talk too much about this. I can't. I love this series. I read them all in one night, which I do not recommend. It was very depressing. It was very emotional and mentally draining, but oh so beautiful. I love this story. I love Shuzo Oshimi. I just think this is such a good series, and honestly I'm wondering if this is why I got into my slump, because it was the first thing I read and then after that I just couldn't move past it. So I'm wondering if this is why I'm so messed up this month. It was because Flowers of Evil messed me up so bad. I literally have spoken about this series 5,000,000 gazillion times. I love it. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. Shuzo Oshimi can do no wrong. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. It was a 5-star read. Every single volume was a 5-star read. I loved it. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. Amazing. The end. Next up in my 5-star category is the manga series After the Rain by Jun Mayuzuki. I read all 5 volumes this month because the only thing I really wanted to read this month was manga, and The Flowers of Evil and After the Rain really just did it for me. I don't know. Every single volume was also a 5-star read of this one. This is an age gap romance. It is about the main character who is 17 and she works at a family restaurant, and her boss is 45 years old and she's in love with him, and that's pretty much the gist of this story. It is a very sad, it's very sweet, very bittersweet, very emotional and heart pulling. It pulled at my heartstrings, and it was just so well done. I was very worried about this age gap romance because I didn't know what to expect with it, because you know there are some age gap romances that are a little, so I didn't know what to expect with this one, but I think this one was so well done, and the ending is just so sad, but in such a satisfying way. I think it's satisfying. I don't know if everyone will think that, but I just loved every single volume. I think the artwork is just absolutely beautiful. I will show you some of the artwork. I just think it's stunning. It really reminds me of Sailor Moon. Yeah, I just really like the artwork. I think it's beautiful, and I just loved it. It was a great series. It was absolutely sweet and beautiful and made me cry. So, and the last book I read this month. Are we gonna be surprised by this rating? I don't know. You tell me. That is The Haunting of Ashburn House by Darcy Coates. We know Darcy is just I love her, okay? Like, I love her writing, I love her books, I have an obsession, I love her. She's a great writer. And I know not everyone feels that way about Darcy Coates. I get it. I know. I understand. I'm in the minority. She's cozy, okay? She writes cozy horror and it envelops me in this big hug, and I'm happy when I read her books. I'm just happy. And this one was perfect, okay? I was in a slump and I was sad, and this one made me happy, and that's what I love. And it's a good haunted house story. I'm not even gonna tell you what it's about. It's about a girl who inherits a house from a dead relative that she didn't even know existed, and the house is haunted. And that's all you need to know, okay? It's The Haunting of Ashburn House. Come on, it's in the title. I heard people trash this book. I've heard a lot of people didn't like this, okay? So I went in thinking maybe this would be the Darcy Coates book that I don't love. This will be the one that gets a 3-star rating for me. No, it's a 5-star read. It was so atmospheric. Adrian, the main character, is living my absolute dream of inheriting a mansion from a dead relative. I mean, I don't know if I want it to be as haunted as this one, but I mean, still, she was kind of living my dream. And I loved Adrian's cat. There were actually genuinely some creepy moments in this book, and I loved it. I loved everything about this, okay? I don't know where everyone gets that it's a bad book or whatever. I don't actually know how many people say they didn't like this book. I've heard some people say they didn't like this book, but I think it's amazing, okay? Maybe I'm biased. Maybe I'm biased. And I just love everything that Darcy Coates does. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe when I read every single one of her books, we'll find out if I'm actually biased or not. But we'll see. I don't know. I don't know what everyone's talking about. This was great. It was perfect. It might be my new favorite. I loved The Carol Haunt a lot, but this one, it might be my new favorite. I don't know. It might be my new favorite. It was great. It was like a big warm hug, and I loved it, okay? And that, my friends, is everything I read in August. Why did I only read 11 books and 9 volumes of manga, and I've been filming for like 2 hours talking? How much do I have to say? I don't know. But I feel like I've been talking forever, and I'm done. I'm done with it. I'm done. I wish August had been better. I was participating in the readathon, which I really thought I was just gonna go through all the prompts. I was just gonna get everything done. And I don't know, man. I just couldn't read. It was bad. The readathon was so much fun, but my mental state was not in the place for it, so that was depressing as heck. And I just didn't have fun reading this month. So I really hope September's better, and I hope I enjoy the books I read more, and I just hope I have a better reading month. Let me know what you read in August, what your favorite book of August was. Were you in a slump? Did you read a ton? Did you read a bunch of good books? Did you read a bunch of bad books? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. It lets me know what kind of content you enjoy from me. That way I can keep providing you with that kind of content. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We can become friends, talk about books, movies, makeup, horror, manga, all kinds of things. I do a lot on this channel, so hopefully there's something for everyone. With that being said, I hope you are having a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.